absolutely ridiculous. And every time we say we need better solutions, they offer us more policing and kind of more oppression. So in response to women being afraid of police officers, they send police officers into nightclubs to make us feel safer. They've told bus drivers that they're now the guardians of women. It's absolutely ridiculous. And she's not going to stop. As I say, when you see her speak, it's chilling. But the most chilling thing I've ever seen from Priti Patel, you know, the daughter of a migrant who she would probably gladly send back if she could, was stood outside a house in Scotland when they were deporting this poor family. And she stood there, like, smiling for a picture. And I was like, that's actually disturbing that you are so proud of these draconian policies of encouraging people to send migrants back that you will stand there and smile while someone's life is being destroyed. Priti Patel, for me, is more worrying than Boris Johnson because there is a level of self-hatred within that woman that means she's coming for all of us. She's coming for women. She's coming for ethnic minority people. She's coming for the working class because she aspires to be something else and she believes that by in some way punishing us, she's going to get there. Someone has got the hand up, but I am just about to finish. And I think there's time for questions at the end. I will just double check. Cool. So I'm going to hand over. Clearly not Priti Patel's biggest fan, and we have to resist it at all costs. The only way we're going to fight Priti Patel is by joining together as a class and taking to the streets as we did today. Thank you, guys.
OK, thank you, Chantelle Lunt from Black Lives Matter. Really important points there. I'm actually now going to bring in Elda Cardoza. She's from Frente Pret. Is that right? Yeah. And that's the Brazilian Black Lives Matter. Okay.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here. To talk about Priti Patel, for us, in a sense, it is hard and also it's easy too. I think she's been the talk of the town, especially among ourselves, immigrants. So to say, for me, first of all, was very shocking to see a woman of color, the daughter of immigrant parents, come up with that bill. It is shocking because if you go back on her background, her parents immigrate. Before they came here, they went to a country in Africa. They was immigrants too. And when she comes here and they come up with this bill against her only people, it is shocking for me because she's not only a woman, but she's a woman of color. And when we see someone doing that and don't care about the others, you stop a moment and ask yourself, it must have something going completely wrong on that woman's brain. Because I don't know why she sees every day when she's looking at the mirror herself. I don't know why she thinks she is. I don't know why she's seeing that. But definitely, she's not seeing who she is. And then I sense I'm glad. Because if she's looking at there and saw someone, it looks slightly bit like myself, then I'll be completely sad. So in a sense, I'm glad she doesn't see that way. But talking about that, what is making me even more shocked is how can you come up with a bill against immigrants when you are one of them? So when you know the people, he put this country up. The people, he give you the position where you and your family are today as a high middle class. The people, he let you be here, have all you have, and being today in the position you are, is the people you work so hard, and those people come from where you come from, and now you are doing a bill against them. How dare you? How can you do that to your own? When I saw the bill, when I read it, all of it, honestly, I could not come till the end. Because when she says an immigrant is going to come here, and before they have the right to enter here, they need first to apply for the visa on their countries. I wish I could come up front to her to ask her that question. Did you ever flee a country in the middle of a war? Yes. Did she? Did anyone here flee a country in the middle of a war? When you are fleeing a country in the middle of a war, you don't have time to go to British embassy and ask for a visa to come here. The first thing you do is run for your life. You don't have time to take your passport, let alone go and apply for a visa. You are run for life, goodness sake. You don't have time for that. How she come up with that bill, ask people to do that in the first place, when she knows that is not possible? It's impossible to do that to arrive here. And then it doesn't stop there. The worst is about to come. So they cannot come here and stay here. They need to go to a place, waiting to decide, for this country to decide, for herself to decide, if they're allowed to stay here or not. So what she's trying to do? We know, we have example of that. We have a detention camp in Australia, and you know what's going on there. The detention camp, they lead to people being killed, children and the women being abused sexually, people suicide, and so on and on. And this is what she wants to do to us, immigrant people. When we arrive here, she wants to send us abroad to a detention camp and decide what to do with us after. How we'll cope? How these people cope with that, not knowing what's going to happen to them, if they're going to come to this country or if they will go back to their death. And people seem to think everything's fine, everything is normal. But no, it's not. So we need to keep marching, we need to keep shouting, we need to keep asking, we need to keep fighting. Because there is time, we need to stop that bill. We cannot let it go till the end and be completely approved and applied on this country. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Elder Carsosa. So next person I'm going to come to is Delia Mattis, also from Black Lives Matter.
Testing, testing, 1, 2. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I think this evening is very properly named The People versus Priti Patel, because Priti Patel has effectively waged war on working class people, and we don't have any choice but to fight. There is no other option for us all now to fight against this pernicious bill. And that means we have to engage the trade unions. We've got to engage everyone. We need to go to our communities like never before, and we need to inform them of what is at stake. But we also need to be realistic. The bill is going to go through. How do we stop this bill from going through when they have an 80-seat majority? The bill is going to pass, and we need to understand what we have to do next. Now, you have to make a decision. You have to make a decision. Are we going to back off? Are we going to give up our civil liberties? I can tell you, in hundreds of years, you know, our forefathers, the civil rights movement, people lost their lives. People gave up their lives. People gave up their livelihoods for us to be able to be on the streets and protest. People gave up their lives for us to have the rights that we have now. And so now is the time that we have to make a decision collectively. How are we going to respond to this bill? And there's only one way, unless we're going to just accept it. Unless we're going to accept that we no longer are able to protest in the way we have been doing for centuries, unless we're just going to give that all up, then the only other option is we now have to make this bill completely ungovernable. That means we send a message to Priti Patel and the police and the government that we are going to continue to protest. We have no choice. We don't have any choice. This bill extends the rights of the police. It gives them more powers. Think about what this means to black people in our community. Just think about it for a minute. When we say that black youths are 10 times more likely to be stopped and searched by our white counterparts, I want you to think about how difficult that is for young black men in particular. Think about what it does to their mental health. Are we going to allow this bill to just go through and we're not going to fight for those youth? Those youths are our future. And it's our responsibility as activists to make it clear that there is a way forward. We're just not gonna lie down to Priti Patel's bill. We're gonna keep fighting, we have to. But we've gotta fight bigger and smarter and better than we've been doing so far. And that means we've got to have a serious engagement with the trade unions in this country, because the movement has been moving ahead and leaving the trade unions behind. They haven't been at the forefront of the fight thus far. They haven't been there. There is this kind of old school tradition of trade unionism where white men of a certain age lead the trade unions, and we're supposed to beg for their permission to protest, and we have to wait for their bureaucratic structures to make decisions. Well, that day is gone. That day ended last year with the Black Lives Matter uprising. Nobody was waiting for bureaucracy to make decisions. They took to the streets. And and a lot of those marches and those protests were led by our youth. And they need us to lead them now. They're depending on us. They're looking to say, okay, what's going to happen next? We have to lead. They have to see us prepared to break the law. We have to be prepared to break the law. That's our reality. To break the law and show the authorities that, no, we are not giving up. Because for those people, the civil rights movement, the trade unionists from back in the day, who lost their lives, who lost their jobs, who went on strike for endless weeks to have their voices heard and to make their demands, we cannot turn our backs on all that was done. And Priti Patel, with one swoop of her pen, with this one bill, wants to undo until now. Well, as a movement, we have to say a collective no. As a movement, we now have to come together. And, you know, when we say we're going to protest and we're going to march, bring your friends, bring your family. It's not just, you know, those of us on this platform. Everybody has the responsibility to talk to people in your neighborhoods, in your areas, in your workplace about what is at stake. What's at stake is our civil liberties. That's the reality. What is at stake is our human rights, our freedom of speech. And we make the decision now if we're going to tolerate this law or we're not. And I say we're not. Solidarity.
Okay, thank you. That was Delia, Mattis, Black Lives Matter, and such important points you're making there. So now, quickly, I'm just moving on now because quite a few speakers. So we've got Jake Bowers from Drive to Survive. Okay.
Hello. Okay. Yeah, really, really important, everything that I've just said. I'm going to try not to repeat any of it because I agree with all of it. But I just wanted to give you a gypsy perspective. Our flag is here, which has the green for the earth, the red for the sky, and that chakra that you see in the middle is a symbol of the fact that our culture is part of the Indian diaspora, and our people reached here about 500 years ago. So when I look at Priti Patel, not surprisingly, like a lot of people on this panel, I don't like her. I don't like the things she's doing. I don't like the things she's saying. But I see her as a distant cousin gone bad. You know, she's part of the Indian diaspora that went to Uganda, and her parents, her family got thrown out, I think, amongst other Ugandan Asians. So she should know better than to, once she's reached the high point in the castle, to draw up the drawbridge and turn her fire on everybody else. She should know better. But let me tell you about something that's happening in part 4 of that bill, because people have talked about part 3, and it is a danger to our democracy, our already fragile democracy, which is broken. We live in a country with a progressive majority, yet the Tories still rule because it's such a broken democracy. And they want to break it even further so that any resistance, any people being dissenting will be silenced. But part 4 is the bit that's brought me and many of my friends and people to Manchester. And we proved that things can be different, that there is a different way. We contacted the council and we said, we're coming to the Tory party conference. We can either come at a time and a place of our choosing, or we can come to a place and a time that we agree upon. And they took the sensible way out. They found us somewhere, and we've been parking just north of the Northern Quarter for the last 4 days. And it just goes to show that Gypsy and Traveller communities can be incorporated even into inner city environments. So well done to Manchester. And well done to, and I don't often say positive things about the police, well done for Greater Manchester Police, because I rang them up on a regular basis and threatened them. I thought they'd probably come and drag me away, but actually they gave me a gypsy sign. So it goes to show that it does work. But I wanted to tell you just a bit about our relationship with the police. Our word for policeman in Romany is gava, and it comes from the word to hide. You know, they say about the Inuit that they have 200 words for snow. Well, we've got about 20 words for the police, and none of them are positive. And the reason is since the 500 years that we've been in this country, we have learned to fear and to hide from them. We've always seen them as people that wanted us gone. They were the people who who knocked over the cooking pots of our ancestors when they were trying to feed their children. They were the people who evicted people in the middle of the night. They were the people that took people away. All the way back from when we first came in this country 500 years ago, it was illegal to be who I am today. It was a hanging offense for which many, many people died. And when you look at that 500 years of that hostile environment, it's been horrible, really, really horrible at times. At times it's got better, but it's always been like a noose which has loosened and tightened. And so we look at part 4, and it's about to get even tighter. The provisions in that bill make being nomadic, which is a hallmark of our culture, illegal. It seeks to culturally cleanse the British landscape of our existence, and it's frightening. There will be, when it passes, and Delia's absolutely right, it will pass, a £2,500 fine for being nomadic. You can be imprisoned for being nomadic, and you can have your homes taken away from you, and then, of course, your children taken into care simply for following the way of life of your ancestors. It's hideous, and it has horrible parallels in history. In 1936, a similar decree by the Nazi Party in Germany said that all Romanies must stop traveling so that they can be kept an eye upon by the local police. That's why we call the police gavers, because they are people to hide from. So a lot of us are feeling fearful, but a lot of us are feeling defiant, and I'm actually feeling quite hopeful, because as much as I hate Priti Patel and everything that she stands for, one thing she has succeeded in doing this year is ensure that our struggle is now seen by most people within left-wing circles and with environmental groups in human rights circles as an issue of racial equality. So I've got her to thank for that. Because by putting her into a corner, she has forced us to come out fighting. And we have come out fighting. And we've found amazing advocates and allies on that journey. But this has to only be the end of the beginning. The real struggle comes when this law is put into place. And that's when we will have to organize like never before. We will have to learn the strength of collective action, of moving around in bigger numbers, in working with everybody from the police who don't want this bill, to local councils, to the Church of England, to find refuge from the gavers, from the people that we should hide from. And we are going to come out fighting because we can't stop. There have been many attempts to erase us from history. 1.5 million Romani people were killed by the Nazis in the Second World War. And do you know what? In many of the places where the Nazis went, the Romani population is now so big that it may well become the majority population in places like Croatia. There's an old Mexican saying that they tried to bury us, but they didn't realize that we were seeds. And we are. We still have big families. I'm one of 17, so they can't get rid of us. We will bounce back, if only because we have lots of children. So that's a wonderful thing. But we also need to become more political, and that's something which is beginning. The reason we started Drive to Survive, and we've got a stall at the back where we're selling T-shirts and giving away badges and all kinds of stuff. Please visit it before you go. The reason we started it is, for us, this is a fight for cultural survival. The horse fairs that we go to, that we take a pilgrimage to, like Appleby Fair in Cumbria, is one of the most amazing, colourful events left in Britain. It's been there since the 1600s. Some of our fairs have been there since the 1300s. this bill will make the migrations to those horse fairs illegal. And those are the places where young gypsies and travellers meet other gypsies and travellers so they can make more gypsies and travellers. So it's important that we still go there. So we encourage you to go there. Our sister Marvina came to Appleby and absolutely loved it. We have to turn those places into places of resistance. We have to make any unauthorized encampment, which is what government calls them, into places of resistance. We have to politicize everything that we do and join together with our allies because it's powerful and it's strong. So this is the beginning of Drive to Survive, and we look forward to seeing you next spring and next summer. Come camping with us, come living with us, come fighting with us, because we have to do it. Thank you.
So thank you. That was Jake Bowers from Drive to Survive, and it's really good to stand in solidarity with people and voices we've not really heard much on the left before, so that's really great to have that. So next we've got Sarah Manhutu. I hope I've said that correctly, Sarah. It's Sarah, isn't Sarah Manhutu? So she's a grassroots community activist campaigner in Manchester.
Oh, hi everyone. It's great to see everybody here today. Priti Patel, I mean, as the child and the grandchild of refugees, I find that she is personally attacking me, and she's personally attacking my families and everything that we represent. And we see on telly national policy being talked about, but actually it filters down into our local communities, doesn't it? And I think everybody here in this room today understands how it does affect us on a street level. Now, when I've looked over the COVID period and we've seen, refugees in this country and the treatment and the conditions that they're facing, we are being violated on so many levels. Our human rights, when we come to this country, feeling law zones, and we're being attacked for being here. We're not being given food, we're not being given safe space to sit in and live in, and our children are being vilified in the media. It's got to the point where it's acceptable for people to die during crossing. It has been normalised in the media, it's been normalised on the estate. You can hear so much hatred on the estate through these horrible media outlets that have created a stigmatisation around the refugee plight that takes and strips people of their humanity, and it's time for us as a people to make sure that that stops. Humanity is the first and the end. It is the start and it's the end. And I think as Priti has come into my city, I am extremely angry that they come here every year. Like, it's, get out and don't come back. There's a choice behind the decision to host this conference here in our city, and it is a challenge against the resistance that Manchester holds as a city. Now, as I look at this Police Crime and Sentencing Courts bill, and everything that's been said today is 100% true. They're attacking us from so many different directions, but we've seen a beautiful unification of so many different communities, especially over the last kind of 12 months. And here on a GMP level, we are going to see, we've been given a chief inspector who's now actually quite, comes from a history and a background, a family that, I would be very wary of in the position that he's been given and the treatment that will result in for black and brown people in this city. We have seen reports come out from grassroots campaigning groups like Resistance Lab that have showed us how bad taser use is in this city. We have seen that the stop and search rates in this city are disproportionate to the level of serious violence, and they themselves, the GMP, have published a report to tell us that they work and operate on an institutionally racist basis, yet have no kind of plan to deal with that. And why is that? Because reform isn't going to work around here. And I think we need to seriously think about how we protect ourselves. We've had so many deaths in police pursuits over the last 12 months, mostly those from marginalised community members, and this bill strips the accountability away from officers. They're no longer going to be held accountable for deaths in police pursuit. Now, given how many's happened in the last 10 months, that's a serious concern for our communities. And I think what I've listened to today, a lot of people my age and younger maybe don't engage in policy as actively as we should, because what we find is that it's thrown out in the media and turned into this boring thing, you know, like politicians stood on a stage talking about it, news interviews, whatever. But this summer, what we've seen is people sat at home on their phones. People are consuming information that is breaking down policy and legislation into digestible chunks of information, and seriously dissecting that to see how we are being attacked as community members. And one word that I've heard come out today is hope. Now, if it wasn't for hope, none of us would be sat here, right? And today, I think we all need to make a commitment to do what's already been said, and that is branch together. So when you see somebody in need, we have a responsibility, not only a moral responsibility, but a civic responsibility to each other that, you know, I'm going to safeguard you. I'm going to stay here and see what happens. I'm going to intervene. You know, I'm going to access my privilege and I'm going to use it to the best of my ability, because they're not going to protect us. They've proven that with the violence that we see. When we look at the serious violence funds that come out, what does that do? It improves funding for statutory services rather than supporting grassroots community campaigns and support mechanisms that actually work to safeguard us. We're seeing huge initiatives take place from grassroots organisations now that are on about community organising. We are our last line of defence. We take up arms and we stand by that, or we let them win. And I am not lying down. I am not going to sleep. I am not stopping, because this is bigger than me. This is about my nieces and nephews. This is about the kid over the road. This is about the unborn child that I haven't even met yet. We lie down now, we're giving up. And so we're doing this for the next generations and the generation that comes after that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That was Sarah Manahutu. So on this panel, last but not least, we've got Armeen Hadi from Stand Up to Racism here in Manchester.
Right, I'm gonna stand to upset the cameraman. Thank you for inviting me. I'm also the chair of Northwest Unison Black Members in the Northwest, and I'm really pleased to be on this panel with the people here today. Let's start with Priti Patel. And I think, from my viewpoint, what the Tory party have done is they realised that if they want to sell a shit policy to us, then somehow it becomes more palatable if they find someone black or Asian to try and sell it to us. Rishi Sunak, that idiot Zahawi, who's our COVID minister, God help us all, 130,000 excess deaths, and he doesn't seem to think he's doing anything wrong. All these people have been put in those positions. And because, I'll tell you one simple reason, they care more about their class than they do about their race. That's it, simple as, okay? And that's why the Tory party is what it is, and that's why they've joined the Tory party, because they don't care about ordinary people, whether they be black or otherwise. They only care about their class. And their class, believe it or not, are getting richer because of COVID. They're making millions off our back. There are more billionaires in this country than there were a year ago. These are the people are our scum that are destroying our communities and are willing to put people into poverty. They don't care how many people will freeze to death this winter because they can't afford fuel. They don't care about how many more people die of COVID. I mean, 100 odd die a day and they don't even bother reporting about it anymore, do they? It's not even noticed. And the fact that black people and Asian people are disproportionately affected by COVID and more likely to die from it, well, that's got nothing to do with racism. In fact, they deny that racism even exists. They have the cheek, don't they? So they write a report, a Saul report, and they come out and tell us that it doesn't exist. They tell us that actually that slavery wasn't a bad thing. Actually, slavery allowed African people to reframe themselves. I can't even repeat the nonsense that they came out with. And the reason why they tried to do that is because ultimately race and capitalism have always gone together. They've always used racism to justify their power. Even when they can't find anyone to do their shitty jobs anymore in this country, will they let people seeking asylum work in this country? No. You couldn't make it up, could you? Now, a lot of people have talked about the right to protest and how it's unified everyone together and how they brought that bill in because they realise that what they're going to do to this country is going to cause even more people to protest. And the simple solution for us is that we have to be louder on demonstrations, we have to shout more on demonstrations, we have to have bigger demonstrations, don't we? And defy the bill. That's what we have to do. But I also want to talk about the Nationality and Borders Bill, because that's also going through its second and third reading. A third reading will be on the 20th of October. And that will make it illegal to seek asylum in this country. I know the press love talking about illegal people, asylum seekers, but it literally will make it illegal if this bill gets passed. So what they're saying is if you flee persecution caused by war, probably something to do with British arms have been involved in making the war in the first place, and you manage to get across the Mediterranean without drowning, and you manage to make it across the Channel without drowning, that somehow when you knock on the door and say, I want to claim asylum in this country, they're going to say, you're illegal because you've not come in by legal means. Now, 99% of people that enter this country in that method. No one comes through a Home Office resettlement scheme. Less than 1% come through that way. So they effectively will make it illegal to seek asylum in this country with that bill. And we have to oppose that bill because the majority of people think that we should support refugees. I believe it. I don't believe the Tory press. I've stood outside my workplace and I've collected money for refugees at Christmas and other times. And people have given. Not a single person has walked by and told me not to. Yeah? Not a single person has had a go and said they're taking someone else's job. No one has done that. Ordinary people. The rich do that. The rich say that because it suits their needs to divide and rule us, doesn't it? But it doesn't suit our needs. So what I'm going to ask everyone to do on the 20th, because that's when the next reading of the bill is, I want you to hold up a sign. I don't care where you are, where you're at work, whether you're in your community, whether you're with your group. Hold up a sign saying no to this bill. Refugees are welcome here. We need to say it across the country on the 20th when they are in Parliament discussing the bill. Because change does not come at Parliament. Okay, definitely doesn't come from the Tories with an 80 majority. I don't think will come from Keir Starmer, no matter how long you wait for him to become elected. It will only come from a mass movement from below. That is the only way things are going to change in this country, is to us to organise the majority that want to live in a tolerant society, that want to live in a world where people are respected for their beliefs, their ethnicity, their culture, that brings all those people together, that recognises that ones that make the wealth of this country are the working people of this country, not the rich. And we have to unite all those people to overthrow this system, because ultimately that's the only thing that's going to change things. Us standing together. And we have a huge opportunity, not because world leaders are meeting that something's going to change about our environment. They're going to keep burning fossil fuels, a bit like they're going to keep racing because they make money out of it. They think it makes money for them. They don't care they're destroying the planet as they do it, okay? But we've got to unite with those people that care about the environment, and we're going to make sure that we all stand together when people are protesting across the country in November, and we're going to keep doing that every time, be louder, be more vocal, and keep going until we win, because change comes that way. I was fortunate enough to be involved in the poll tax riot. It wasn't a riot, it was an uprising. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and it got rid of Thatcher, which is more than Tony Blair did. We can do this, but we all need to stand together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That was Amin Hadi from Stand Up to Racism in Manchester. I'm aware that the time is really ticking on and we're getting such really important things. So I'm going to try and take some quick comments, but can everyone just keep it really quick because I've only got a very short time. And then what I'll do is I'll bring the panel back in to make some concluding comments. So we'll have to, again, make that quite concise as well. So, okay, is there someone? Yeah, this lady there. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. I really just had to take the opportunity to speak just now because you mentioned the Sewell report, and I have been here protesting the Sewell report. Today I came in black with a cape. The day when they say we can't protest, because I'm protesting the Sewell report. Stephen Lawrence died. His family fought a 28-year battle for justice. We got the Macpherson report. It said institutional racism caused his death, that things should be done about it to correct the things that the Lawrence family suffered after their son was murdered in the streets. Tony Sewell comes along and overturns Macpherson's report, overturns institutional racism. Then months later, we hear that things are objectively justified. Do we not see the patterns? The country had the greatest outrage ever in response to the Sewell report. We rejected the Sewell report comprehensively, not just spouting off and shouting. Academics, oh, I'm an academic, I'm Dr. Jackie Stanford. My expertise is race, education, and policy internationally. We rejected the Sewell report. Don't let the government put it on us that we are racist. People marched for Black Lives Matter last year, marched for George Floyd, rejected the Sewell report. Did that happen? Did it happen? Did you stand for Black Lives Matter? Across professions, police, education, health, policy, people came out and said why the Sewell report was wrong. I'm so sorry. I'm nearly done. I just want to say one thing. I'm here protesting the Sewell report because after we protested and rejected it, the Queen's speech came out and they said they're going to build legislation on the Sewell report. Right now, there are educational policies being done on the Sewell report. There were 8 petitions that were filed in the petitions office to protest the Sewell report, and they were all rejected with gross irregularities. There are 2 petitions now. Please, could you go to
Hi, can you
petitions?
wrap up, please, now? Because we've got other people that want to come in.
I'm so sorry. I do apologize. Yeah. I'm going to stop right now. There are 2 petitions. Go to Petitions Parliamentary, type in Sewell, and sign those petitions to say, we rejected the Sewell report. Apologies and thank you.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. So have we got anybody else that's got any quick questions or just quick comments that really, yeah, okay, this guy here. That'll be the last one.
I think the most important thing is to recognise why is Priti Patel doing what she's doing. She's doing it for the same reason Blair turned against the Socialists and the Labour Party. She'll get rich. She'll get fat. She'll get fucking rich because she's been looked after by the fucking guys at the top. That's exactly why she's doing it. That's the most important thing to focus on. That's all I want to say.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so, okay, yeah, is there one more? Yeah, go on. Yeah.
I just wanted to say, I've got one over here as well. Yeah, I'm actually, my name's Jim. I'm an ex-new traveller. Haven't been on the road for like 20 years, but I am an ex-traveller. So I've got a lot of friends who are still travellers, and I know how fired up they're getting about the police bill. I also, yeah, work with the People's, involved with the People's Assembly. And the thing I wanted to say, though, is that, on the left, we always talk about we need to unite together, fight and win. That's how we win. And often that's, it's difficult. But this is actually a huge opportunity for us to do that. And I think Delia's touched on this quite a few times over the weekend, yeah, the traditional left, the trade union left, there is a movement on its way, and we do, the trade union movement is, behind on that, which I totally agree with. And John Rees at the meeting the other day, the movement building meeting, said, we need to have a situation where we do get every single organisation, every single campaign group. The Tories have got away with decimating our society in the last 11 years. And, the Corbyn, a lot of people are demoralised by the Corbyn movement. But the word that hasn't been mentioned yet today is fascism, Like, they want to take away our right to protest for our rights. And that is literally fascism. So this does have to be a situation where every single campaign group, every single trade union, every single campaign against racism and for justice and equality comes together and we have to create that poll tax moment. And I think we can do it. You know, like Jake said, it's uniting people. Like, if we can't do it now, then, you know, we never will. And with XR as well, you know, climate change is literally going to fucking kill us all. We've got to do it fucking now.
Thank you, Jim. Was there one more person who wants to make a quick comment, did you say, or was that it? Okay, there's somebody here, I think. Right, okay. We might go over a little bit.
Right, quickly, I just want to say that one of the main problems is land inequality. In the UK, in England, we only have 8% access to the land. When you actually look at the landowners, out of the top 40 landowners, about 20 of them are grouse farmers running the shoot. And one of the things that I was just reminded of today is that a number of the biggest landowners in this country actually bought their land as profits from the slave industry, from the slave trade. And when are we going to start fighting for land redistribution? And when are the, you know, the descendants of the slave traders should really have their land reconfiscated of them as it's a profit from a criminal offence, because slavery is criminal, and actually that land should be redistributed to the descendants of the slaves who worked so hard to make that money so these slave traders could buy the land in the first place. Something has to change. We need to get the land divided back and make life equal.
Okay, thank you. So we're getting very close to finish now. Was this one other person? I don't know. Was the... Okay, just take it.
Hello. Yeah, so I just really want to say that I'm an organiser for Reclaim Pride in Liverpool, and also the chair of the Labour, well, used to be the Labour Party LGBT Network, now LGBT Socialists. And it's so important that we are uniting all marginalised communities. Like, I founded the United We Stand Solidarity Network. Chantelle, my co-chairs on the panel there, amazing organiser. Our whole thing is building a network of marginalised groups to work together, because the capitalist system cannot work without racism, misogyny, transphobia, homophobia, disableism, so on and so forth, because of the false narrative that they push, that everyone is divided by, whether that be gender, their able-bodiedness, so on and so forth. That's the only way they can keep us divided. So the more we work together, like, I'm an LGBT person, I'm a trans person, non-binary. I come from a community that used to be so radical. Over the years, Pride's become so de-radicalised, and it's so important that in each of our communities we are working to politicise everything that we do, because our existence is itself just to be out in public, to be flamboyant, whatever it is a political statement, because we can be beaten. In Birmingham, there's been so many attacks. In Liverpool, where I'm from, there has been dozens of attacks, homophobic attacks, and it's just going on and going on. So the more we unite, and it's so important, because like the Kill the Bill movement at the moment is so important, because if that goes through fully, we have to go out and protest it every single day, make sure it is not enforceable as a law, because Pride, as we know, will never exist ever again. We only have Pride because of sex workers and people of colour, people like Stormy DeLavre, a mixed race activist that started the Stonewall riot, people like Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Riviera, that built everything in America to the point that we have a Pride movement now. So the more we come together, the better it can be. The Tories and even Labour have tried to push in through the bill because it wasn't far enough for them, trying to push in attacks against sex workers, LGBT people, disproportionately sex workers. So them attacks are coming through, whether that be travellers, sex workers, LGBT people. So yeah, I just want to finish that. The more united we are, the better, and we will win.
Okay. Okay, thank you for those contributions. So now I'm going to come back to the panel. If you can all just quickly just sum up or respond if you can. So I'll come to Elder Cardosa first.
Okay, yes. Thank you, everybody. Take part, all the questions asked, and solidarity with the LGBTQ plus community, solidarity Paul just speak now, and also solidarity with my travelers, brothers and sisters are on the road fighting all these hundreds of years and been resisting everywhere in the world. We have a large as well traveler community in Brazil, and also that they are doing the resistance movement there. And thank you, the People's Assembly, for having us. And no human is illegal.
Thank you. Okay, move on to Chantelle Lunt from Black Lives Matter.
Mic check. Okay, yeah, I just want to agree. Amazing comments and just incredible panel, especially Jake. I was like sat there like with my mouth open, like this is amazing, learning what you have to say about. But I just wanted to kind of, along the lines of, you know, no person is illegal and how people enter our country, the most chilling thing that I want you to really drill down on out of Priti Patel's speech today was she likes to disguise laws as acts of love towards marginalised communities. So she said she was going to basically start a war on people trafficking. So sounds really good. She's gonna, anyone who people traffics illegally, anyone who's engaged in, you know, modern day slavery, there's a maximum sentence that's gone up from 14 years to a full life sentence. But then in the same sentence, she said that anyone who enters the country illegally, their maximum sentence goes up from 6 months in prison to 4 years. So why are you criminalising people who can't get here any other way? So that's my final thought for the evening, and just thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Testing. Testing. Yeah, thank you very much. It's been a really good panel and a great debate, but I always say, you know, because everybody in here seems quite united, we all seem to want the same thing. And I think it's really important that we don't just leave with the message, unite and fight. We always say that in our movement. We always say that. We need to leave here and do an action. So when you go home, you know, one of the easiest things that you can do is search a union official's email address, not your branch. Email the general secretary or one of the bigwigs in your trade union. There must be a number of trade unions in here. Email one of the bigwigs in your trade union and you say, you were at the People's Assembly and one of the biggest threats to our liberties is this bill that's going to pass through Parliament. What are you prepared? Can you join with the People's Assembly and what are you prepared to do to fight against it? That is something that we all need to take from here. And also, all of your local organisations, you know, your trade councils, all of the activist organisations in your area, write to them and tell them what's at stake here. Because it's easy to use those words, you know, the nice words, solidarity, we're all united. This is a fight. We've got a major fight on our hands, and we have to take it seriously. So, solidarity.
Okay, I haven't got many words to say, actually, because I agree with everything everybody said. But I think one closing thought I'd like to leave you with is that, you know, since when has the law ever been right? One thing people forget is that the people who hid Anne Frank were breaking the law. And the people who sent her to Auschwitz were following it. So given that the law is often wrong, and given that it's often enforced by people who are deeply wrong, for deeply wrong reasons, when the police bill becomes law, we have to hold on with pride to the idea that when freedom is outlawed, only outlaws can be free. And enjoy being an outlaw, enjoy breaking it at every opportunity, seek out opportunities to break it, to plug into what Lou was saying about accessing the land as well. Because most of our land is privatized, but this is a land which we should all have access to. So at every opportunity, be an outlaw and enjoy it.
So I'm going to do like a local Manchester shout out because, you know, people talk about resistance coming, but at the end of the day, the resistance is here. And that we've got some amazing local campaigns that are going on that are always in need of support, always in need of solidarity, and actually will work to safeguard people who are being endangered by this hostile policy. Because what we've heard consistently is that we need to make this bill unenforceable. All hostile Tory policy needs to be made unenforceable. So if you want to jump on socials or attend some meetings or whatever, get involved. We've got the Kill the Bill Coalition. We've got Resistance Lab, who are doing big academic and research work into state violence across the Greater Manchester region. We've got the Kids of Colour campaign now that's specifically focused on the No Policing in Schools campaign, which is where we're seeing GM officials want to bring 20 new school-based police officers onto school sites to be working there every single day. And with the impending secure schools that are coming, you know, big dangers there into safeguarding, all of those crossovers. We've got the Northern Police Monitoring Project, who will work to safeguard and support people who are logging police misconduct and putting people in touch with legal support. And we've got, you know, Sisters Uncut and groups like that who are working to deliver training and cop watch groups and self-defence classes and know your rights and all that kind of good stuff. Manchester's got stuff going on, and if you have got an opinion that opposes the Tories and their hostile policy, then let's get active, just as been said. Thank you. Take care.
Yeah, look, thanks a lot. I found it really positive being part of this panel today. I just want to say that Stand Up to Racism is an organisation that tries to bring people together to fight racism, to fight the growth of the far right. I think we're right to point out that actually there's a relationship between the growth of a parliamentary right-wing party and the growth of fascism outside. There's been a synergy of the last 10 years where we've seen the growth of the likes of Donald Trump, Boris Johnson, Bolsonaro in Brazil, and they paved the way for growing fascist organisations that are growing in the likes of Hungary, Jobbik and others that are openly fascist, Golden Dawn. But these people can be stopped, and they have been stopped by organisation already. And, you know, many of those organisations have been stopped because we have managed to unite trade unions together with campaigners and activists. Activists, black members in my union, of organising at work, working in the health service, working in private care, are fighting for the rights of their members, are fighting for the rights of black workers. And we need to have belief in our own strength rather than waiting for trade unions to deliver something for us. We have to organise ourselves to challenge and make sure that we fight together and make sure that we can be successful. So my final plea is that if those of you who are in Manchester are available on the 20th, please do something to oppose the Nationality Borders Bill. Please come and join us on the 23rd in St. Peter's Square at 2 o'clock. Be part of the campaign to make sure that they don't get away with inflicting a horrible, nasty piece of legislation that affects people's right to come to this country. They are human beings that deserve the same rights as everyone else to live in peace, in shelter, have food and warmth to eat, and that's something we should fight for everyone in our society.
Okay, thank you everybody. Thank you everyone for listening. It's been a fantastic panel, and I think, you know, what the message is to get active and let's unite our campaigns on what we agree on, and let's be a force to be reckoned with. And I think really I was inspired a lot by the Black Panthers and what they did, because when they united and brought together the struggles of ordinary working class struggles and, the kind of the racism that was going on, they were very powerful, and that's why the government was so scared of them. And so I think we need to resist this divide and rule that we're seeing, So get involved. So anyway, just one last point as well. The People's Assembly, to host these events and to put on these events, it's cost quite a lot of money. So if you can donate, please do that. You can also set up a very small standing order. We've got some leaflets with a QR code on it to tell you how to do that. So please do if you can. And just as well, a shout out now to our last event. It's been a festival of resistance and it's been fantastic. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let me just say, I'm just going to say there's a last event on, and then I'll just bring you in for a second. It's called Knockout Blow. It's a play. It's about Len Johnson, who was this boxer, and it's about his life and the racism that he struggled against. It's going to be fantastic, so come along to that. That's 8 o'clock. I am going to just pass it to Delia now to just make one last point.
I just wanted to say something, and thank you, Karen, for everything that you've done. You've been great in keeping this whole thing together and representing Manchester. And you're absolutely an amazing activist, and I've absolutely loved working with you. But I also want to say something to the woman at the back of the room, which is Ramona McCartney. She takes no credit for anything that she does. She's the one that works tirelessly to bring all of these groups together. She's the one that works so hard to keep us together. She organizes day and night. She's already thinking about our next thing. So we all owe her some gratitude. Please give a round of applause. Thank you, this queen.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I totally agree with that. I should be so embarrassed now. Okay, thank you, everybody. But do stay to watch the play. It will be fantastic.